What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. Before I begin, I want to say thank you to each and every single one of you for helping to make this channel what it is becoming. We are slowly climbing the ladder to 1,000 subscribers. But to reach that threshold, I need your help. So if you like what you see and you enjoy the content, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel. Smash the like button, comment in the comment section below, and hit the bell to receive notifications. I also do have an eBay store called the Carolina Collector 001. The link is in the description box below. If you want to help support the channel financially, that's how you can do it. I've been selling raw sports cards, graded slabs, and from time to time, various other items. The last 3 days have been amazing, thanks to all of you that have been supporting my eBay store and this channel. I just mailed off my latest order. So hopefully my customers will get their orders in the next few days. And I'm very grateful for that. So with all of that being said, I wanted to talk about this. I mean, I guess it's not quite a collecting video, but I guess because I have a collection of these, I thought it was worth talking about here on the channel. And if you saw the thumbnail and the title of this video, I wanted to discuss this. So this is my primary self-defense weapon. This is the Pepperball Tactical Compact Pistol, which has been heavily modified. It's got a brand new barrel. It's got a smooth bore insert on the inside so that this way it actually hugs the rounds a lot tighter so that this way you get more bang per shot. It takes 6 rounds in the mag. You've got the tab down here that you twist to activate the CO2 that's inside the magazine. It's a great weapon. It's obvious that it's not a firearm. It's painted, or the plastic, I should say, excuse me, is yellow. They used to sell these in all black, but I don't think they made these available in all black anymore to the public because they look too much like firearms, which is why I believe the only way you can get these is to get them in yellow or blaze orange or green. Which I think is a lot safer, but I've had this weapon for quite a few years, and I have its predecessor, the Pepperball Tactical Marking Pistol, which is a bigger gun, but it's all black. It's a 3rd gen and the final release of that particular weapon. So I've been living here in North Carolina for the past 8 years, give or take, since I left the socialist, communist, anti-Semitic regime of New York. And I open carry this thing pretty much everywhere, except, in places where you're not allowed to have weapons. I mean, it's kind of stupid if you do, because you can land yourself into trouble. As a matter of fact, if you get pulled over by a police officer down here, you have to engage in what's called the duty to inform. So basically, if I have a taillight out or something like that, and a police officer's like, can I see your license and registration? And I said, before we even begin, I do have a weapon in my car. It's a less lethal pepperball launcher. It's over there. You don't want to make any sudden moves, do anything dumb, but you have to let them know there's a weapon in the car. So otherwise you can get yourself into a lot of trouble if you don't let the police know that you got this in your car. But I pretty much carry this to Walmart, to Sam's Club, to BJ's. I mean, I carry this thing pretty much anywhere and everywhere. But I've noticed over the past few months that things are starting to tighten a little bit. Now, this weapon is perfectly legal here in North and South Carolina. The only thing that you really can't do with this thing, you can't bring it onto school property, you can't bring it into public parks, courthouses, police stations, things like that, or anywhere where it's marked. Usually down here, you'll see like a image of a firearm with a circle and the slash going through it, which means no weapons. And you cannot conceal this underneath your shirt. This is not a concealable weapon. You have to open carry this down here, according to law. The muzzle velocity of this guy, I think, is about maybe 325 feet per second, something like that. I think it goes into the classification of being a firearm if it takes powder to discharge a bullet or a projectile, or the muzzle velocity is more than 650 feet per second. I believe those are the statutes for this guy. But otherwise, I could take this wherever I want. As long as you're not menacing, you don't pull it out and you don't start pointing it at people, or any of that dumb stuff. You can do pretty much whatever you want with this thing. So lately, I've noticed that there has been a bit of a tightening when it comes to myself carrying a weapon like this, or, well, not just me. I have to assume I'm not the only one that's going through this. There are a lot of people down here that own Byrnas, and pepperball TCPs or TRPs or whatever less lethal weapons that they happen to carry on them. But today, I got stopped at Sam's Club. And the guy was very nice. I'm not bashing Sam's Club. I'm not knocking them. I go there sometimes twice a week. You know what I mean? Or I'll go there like 7 or 8 times in any 30-day period to pick up food and stuff. But this is the first time I was ever stopped over at Sam's Club. So it doesn't bother me. The guy was such a gentleman when he approached me. He shook my hand and I was there laughing. He's like, we see you coming in here all the time. And somebody's always saying that, yeah, there's a guy with a gun and, he's, whatever. But by the time I go out there to look for you, you're pretty much gone. That's because I already have a prerequisite in my brain as to what it is I'm going to shop for. I get in and I get out. No offense to the ladies out there, but it's like these eye drops. I don't sit there and examine it and study it and, see if it matches the color of my shirt and makeup. I'm a guy. I get in, I get out. You know what I mean? But this was the first time I ever got stopped with this particular weapon on my side. It wasn't concealed. It was on my belt, on my holster. And we had a nice discussion with it. I showed him what it is, exactly how the weapon works and all that stuff. You have to have a certain decor when it comes to actually talking about a weapon like this. I told, there's no traditional hammer on the back. The mechanism is operated by turning this tab to engage the CO2 in there. The statute as to North Carolina's laws, a firearm is basically defined by powdered discharge or gunpowder. This doesn't do that. This uses CO2. And the rounds in here are round projectiles, .68 caliber. And it contains PAVA, capsaicin, OC, whatever it may be. The particular rounds I have in this gun, or less lethal launcher to be specific, are the Live Max rounds by Pepperball. Pretty strong stuff. It's the most nasty stuff that's out there next to, I think, Salt Supply, and Grimberg now has OC rounds, which is amazing. But after going through the whole thing, explaining to him why it's bright yellow, they have them in blaze orange and in green and all that kind of stuff, why they don't sell this in black, which is why the TMP was never made available to the public, is because it looks too much like a firearm. Obviously, this has a lot of aesthetics that are similar to a firearm, but the reason why it's colored this way, so it's distinguishable, it's marked Pepperball TCP. There's no cocking hammer on the back or any kind of cocking mechanism of any kind. Everything's powered by CO2, or you can power this with nitrogen. And they do sell little compressed air cylinders like this that you can use a bicycle pump to use as a power source for this thing. But after going through all of that with this gentleman, he's like, oh, I didn't know any of that. And I said, well, here's some reference material. Google Pepperball TCP. You're probably going to have a whole list of less lethals show up. And sure enough, the Pepperball TRP popped up when he looked on his phone. And he's like, it's got a button on it. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't want that thing because you have to slap it. Now, God forbid I bang my elbow into the thing. It'll activate the weapon. I could shoot myself. I don't like it. And of course there's the burn, and all that kind of stuff. But after going through it, he's like, next time you're fine, just be a little careful because sometimes people get scared. And I'm like, well, that would be considered menacing. I'm not out there pulling the thing and swinging it around. Obviously, I've only pulled it out of my holster in this instance to show him, and describe to him what this weapon is all about with the ambidextrous safety and, the magazine that has a CO2 built into it and all that good stuff. So he seemed to be pretty cool, and everybody in there was pretty cool. As a matter of fact, people were stopping me because I'm wearing my old school Gary Carter jersey. I never seen so many old school New York fans, or specifically New York Mets fans. I mean, I'm not used to being stopped for my jersey, so that was kind of a shock. So I got into conversations, all day just about the jersey. Nevertheless, this did become a topic of concern because, it's not the first time I got stopped carrying a weapon like this. But once you get into the spiel and you have a certain decorum about you, you don't panic, you don't wave it around and scare people. I mean, the point of me carrying this thing is as a visual deterrent. If you see me walking around with this, obviously I'm prepared to defend myself and I'm not taking any more chances. Those days are done. Usually I would carry around a 5-ounce bottle of pepper spray, or technically 4.0 3/8 ounces is the maximum size that you can get as far as legally carrying it here in North Carolina, which is 150 cubic centimeters. So I usually carry that in a pouch, but, I grabbed this and I put it on my holster and I just did my thing. And, I've been stopped by the police a couple times, and that doesn't bother me. As a matter of fact, I got a kick out of it because, it's cool to like teach the cops a thing or two about these. They should really have them down here. Do they have them? I don't know. But it'd be nice if they did. I'm not trying to say, let's do away with firearms. That would be stupid because I'm pro 2A. But I think with the way things are going, unfortunately, especially if you got people that are up in the, they got bats in their belfry, you know what I mean? I think the best way to stop them is with one of these. Because sometimes tasers, stun guns, or other less lethal stuff doesn't work. This definitely does, for sure. So, in my opinion, by the way, the evidence is very strong here on YouTube when you see weapons like this deployed in crowds and prisons, especially during riot situations. You'll have unruly, drunken idiots that are out there that can't control themselves. Or, somebody's in a car and they refuse to get out, so they'll use solid projectiles like the Grimbergs, and then they'll use the pepperball rounds to extract the individuals from their vehicles and stuff like that. But, this is more visual deterrent. Basically telling everybody it's not a firearm, but if you bother me or you cross my path in the wrong way or you do something I don't approve of, I'm prepared to defend myself. But like I said, this is perfectly legal here in North Carolina. I've never had any issue. But, it's just strange when I get stopped, in my usual spot. So this was the first time I got stopped in Sam's Club. But again, not bashing them. Sam's Club is amazing. They always got amazing deals, especially on fruits, ladies and gentlemen. I buy all my raspberries and strawberries and grapes and everything from there because Walmart and Harris Teeter suck. They're too expensive. But, getting into the conversation with theft prevention, it was so nice to talk with the gentleman. He was so receptive, and of course, again, you have to have a certain decorum. You don't want to be scary. You don't want to be aggressive. Throw a smile in there once in a while. Let them actually touch the thing so that, it doesn't frighten anybody or whatever it is. I mean, obviously, again, you don't want to be doing this kind of thing. And you never want to do that. That's menacing. You can get yourself into trouble for that. So you want to have a certain decorum and have a certain demeanor when it comes to explaining this. But, next time I'll probably just keep it in my car and carry my usual pepper spray on me like I normally would. But, you don't have to be afraid. Unfortunately, with the political climate that we all live in, obviously, it's kind of obvious who I support. But, there are a lot of frightened people out there that are actually scared that something awful is going to happen in this country. Both sides going to start, attacking each other. There are a lot of violent acts that have taken place, especially around here. Recently, there was a shooting at Tavern 51, which is only a quarter of a mile from here, right outside the property. That I don't go to bars anymore. I don't go to places like that. I stopped going to bars because, well, people simply cannot control themselves. They don't know how to behave. They can't hold their liquor. I rather just buy all the beer. Everybody takes care of me over here, like my friends do. And, we shoot the shit, on my patio or inside my home. It's a lot safer. It's cheaper. But at least you're not out there mixing it up with randoms that can, possibly go off the deep end because they can't hold their beer or their liquor. You can't bring this into a bar anyway. You can't bring this into certain places where they sell alcohol. There's a whole bunch of stipulations here that you have to follow. So I try to follow those stipulations as best as possible. Excuse me. But at the end of the day, of course, like I said, you have to have a certain demeanor, a certain decorum. And if you get approached by somebody who is working either for the store or mall security or whatever it is, have a certain decorum. Don't go off the deep end. Don't yell at them. They're just doing their job. They are there for a reason. They're there to protect you, the public. And if I accidentally, and it's happened, when did it happen? It had to be like 2 or 3 months ago. I went to Carolina Place Mall to get some stuff. And I completely forgot that I had this on my site. You're not supposed to have weapons of any kind in the mall. But, the security guard there was cool. I was going up the escalator. And I guess the security guard, he caught eye of it. He's like, "Hey, sir, with a weapon on your side, you can't have weapons in here." And I was like, oh, shit. So I'm like, I gave him a thumbs up. I came down. I'm like, I'll go, if you don't mind, I'll go put it in my car and come back. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. You know, as long as you don't get aggressive and you don't get butt hurt by that sort of thing. Yeah, I know a lot of people that believe in two-way and self-defense can, you know, get triggered easy. You know, I don't blame them because I don't want to go anywhere unarmed. I mean, you know, I've been in confrontations plenty of times, you know, and I've had to defend myself in court many times, you know, with people trying to one-up me. But of course, knowing me, how I am, I always back up my claims. I always have facts to back up my side of the story. Happened last summer, you know, where I had 3 idiots trying to beat me up, and I didn't have anything on me. I used these to defend myself. It took 3 of them, but they tried to lock me up. And I'm like, wait a minute, I got jumped by these 3 guys. And then once the DA saw that I tried to pay for their food, that I had letters of commendation from the World Trade Center and my union, you know, and all these other pieces of paperwork, that I'm a small business owner, here's my certificate of good standing, and my article of organization, blah, 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 blah. All the charges were dropped. It was ridiculous and stupid. But this is the world we live in, unfortunately. You know, I don't like carrying things like this on me. It looks cool. It's a conversation piece. And if I had to use it, I will. Plain and simple. But again, you know, you don't want to come off the deep end. You don't want to get aggressive. You don't want to, you know, all of a sudden, you know, start barking at the guy for doing his job. And, you know, I was happy to talk with the guy, and, you know, again, the Mets jersey came up, you know, which is funny. But at the same time, you know, just handle yourself, you know, control your emotions. The worst thing you could do is allow your emotions to get out of control. If you allow your emotions to get out of control, that's when things can go and turn on a dime. So I'm still going to carry this weapon, though, you know, now that he had that conversation with me, even though he said that they don't mind that I have this in there, now that I've been able to prove that this is not a firearm according to North Carolina's definition of a firearm, it's just best to play it safe. So from now on, I'm probably just going to carry my pepper spray like I normally would. But I'm still going to take this with me in my vehicle no matter what. I never want to go anywhere defenseless anymore. You know, so, and you could do that down here in North Carolina. But, you know, there you have to pick and choose your battles, ladies and gentlemen. And this is one battle where it's like, you know, logic and common sense has to, you know, take a role, or it has its place with something like this. You don't want to argue, don't want to bicker, don't want to cause problems, and you certainly don't want to make yourself look bad, because people can misinterpret that. There are a lot of crazy people out there. I just saw it recently. I think it was, what's his name there? Salty Cracker, I think is the YouTube channel's name, where some who pronoun freak pulled a firearm out and put it in a street preacher's face. It's the left that does that, not us. The left does that. You know, I think most self-respecting conservatives and Trump supporters, even if you're a moderate somewhere in the middle, you know, you have to be more grounded and make better decisions. But of course, it's crazy psychotic leftists like the who pronoun genetic defect that pointed a gun in the street preacher's face, excuse me. And these people are out of their minds. So we have to show that we know what we're doing with these. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to understand the rules. They're very black and white and very easy to follow. You know, you have to know the statutes. There's a lot that goes into this. So there's not much more for me to say after that, except, you know, be responsible, be careful with what you do out there. There are real, legitimate crazy people out there. And if you do end up, you know, getting stopped by mall security, or you're asked to, like, you know, not carry a weapon, just don't argue. Don't give them a hard time. Find an alternative. Like, pepper spray is the best thing. I think everybody should carry pepper spray at minimum. You know, and I carry the maximum size, which is 150 cubic centimeters or 4.38 ounces. So, well, that's pretty much it, folks. I hope you all enjoy your Thursday, and thank you so much for checking out my videos and my channel and supporting my eBay store. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications. Check out my eBay store, the Carolina Collector 001. The link is in the description box below. Enjoy your Thursday. It is beautiful outside, and I am looking forward to a beautiful, beautiful, quiet nice day. Take care, everybody.